All right, fishing folks. So at the studio we have Jose Cinco. Jose, how's it going?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well. So you're in Oklahoma now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Oklahoma City. Well, Moore, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City, but yeah, I'm out here in Oklahoma.
But you hail from California,
Originally from San Diego. That's where I'm from.
San Diego.
Yeah, born and raised until I joined the Army. Once I was retiring out of the Army, I had got a job to come back to Oklahoma because that's where my wife's family was originally from. And of course, cost of living out here is a lot cheaper than going back to California. That wasn't going to happen,
Oh
which
yeah.
from an outdoors perspective was the right decision anyways because it kind of propelled things. So it was a
All
good
right.
decision.
I get this. So tell the people who don't know who you are. Talk about Jose. Who are you?
Oh, well, like I said, I was born and raised in San Diego, grew up fishing from a young age. My father was a big time saltwater sports fisherman. I was one of those kids that grew up with the Snoopy rod and reel, you know. A lot of people that was their first rod and reel, their introduction to fishing. Kind of did that, and I didn't fish for a long time because like I said, I joined the military, and that was in the height of uh, you know, global war on terrorism, so between deployments overseas and kind of dealing with my own stuff, that was at the forefront. And all of a sudden, that came to an abrupt stop where the Army kind of said, "Hey, it's time for you to medically retire. You need to get out." So moved back to Oklahoma, and I was a federal oil field inspector for the Bureau of Land Management. But I had a lot of healing to do, mentally, physically, spiritually. I mean, all the above. So one of my kids, they're like, "Hey, there's a lot of places to fish around here, Dad. Can we start fishing?" Yeah, of course. And then I had a son, my oldest, who's 20 now. He said, "Dad, why don't you start an Instagram?" I was like, "Ah, that sounds like a horrible idea." You're not thinking of what social media was going to kind of become. And I actually said, "You know what? I'll give it a shot." So started an Instagram, and that slowly started to pick up. But then probably within the last 2 or 3 years is when I went back to posting is kind of when that really just kind of took off. So yeah, so now I'm doing that social media, digital marketing. Even was able to get on with KastKing as a independent contractor through my own company and on their digital marketing team. And so, yeah, it's truly been a blessing to be in the fishing industry, considering that I don't have a background in any of that stuff. So
Okay. So first off, thank you for your service. It seems
appreciate
like you
that.
sacrificed quite a bit in your life for us. So thank you for everything you've done. But I want to backtrack. You said your oldest son is 20 years old.
Yes.
So how old are you?
I'm actually turning 41 tomorrow.
41. With happy early birthday.
Thank you.
And you don't look a day over 30. So I think you're doing pretty good for yourself, I should say.
No, I appreciate that. My grandparents on my mother's side are actually 97 and 94. So, I look at it, I got a long way to go, but I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll still get carded and I'm like, wait a minute, and then they'll apologize and say, "Oh, I didn't realize you were that old." I'm like, I guess that's a good thing.
So what you doing for your birthday?
Ah, you know, I my nephew is currently living with me, and I'm the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator of his football team. So we've got a game tomorrow, so that's what we'll end up doing, which is fine with me. Once you get to a certain age, it's just like,
Yeah.
whatever. We'll celebrate it, but it's not that big of a deal. I think 40 was kind of a bigger deal, but you know, just kind of hanging
I
out.
get
Maybe
it.
I'll get a chance to go fishing early in the morning before it gets too hot.
There you go. So I want to get into Kasking
Hmm.
because um, I started using Kasking years ago when the Spartacus rod came out, and way
Oh,
my this is
wow.
when Kasking first started. I got some of the rods and reels, and they've came a long way since then. I mean, the products have improved tremendously, and the lineup is completely different than when it was when I started like almost 10 years ago and started using Kasking. So talk about Kasking a little bit because there's a perception that you know the products are not high quality. They're not the Abu Garcias and the Lus and the Daiwas and Shimano's of the world. So talk about Kasking and their products a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started the same, probably about 2016, 17. So, quite a bit ago and I'll tell you right now, so I was getting back into fishing and I wanted some new rods and reels, but at the same time, I didn't want to spend big bucks. So I was looking up on Amazon and I saw the Sharky 2, and I think it was under $40. I
Hmm.
said, no way, this reel is going to be worth a crap at under $40. Did a bunch of research on it, watching these guys beat the living crap out of these reels on YouTube and social media. And I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I actually really liked it. Now, back then, of course, a lot of our reels were what in the industry is called off the shelf, right? So even me and you, I'd be like, all right, DJ, let's go to this factory, let's check out their samples, and we'll call it the Jose and DJ reel, right? And then a lot of these major companies do that. There's realistically only about 5 factories that make reels, and everyone just, oh, this is my favorite company. Well, that's on aisle 10, you know, and this company that you're talking about trashing is only a few aisles back. And we were kind of mixed into that because we were a starter brand. I mean, we're only been in the industry 11 years. And you think about that's nothing compared to these companies that have been 60, 70, 80, 100 years in the industry. So we're a challenger brand. We're a small brand. But we really started to turn that tide when we signed Brent Chapman. We signed Brent in 2019. And that's a guy that's, with Bass, he was Angler of the Year, where I think he's had 3 million career earnings. So to have a name like that, we had to come out with the gear to, of course, for him to be successful in his fishing career now with the Bass Pro Tour and everything. So that's when we had that turn. That was also the year where we initially met up with Cliff Crochet. I was actually at I was working that classic where he came up and bought 2 Bassinators himself. And we have this shift, this shift of where we're trying to show that we are a top brand. And in fact, a lot of people don't know now, when you think about companies that have their own manufacturing, do everything themselves, you're really only thinking about Shimano and Daiwa. Well, KastKing, we have our own factory. It's a huge factory that's in China, but it's ours. So that's why you don't see the Mega Jaws looking like anything else. That's why, yeah, the iReel 2 has all this crazy stuff, but you don't see anything else like that in the market because that's that we have the cast. That's all of our company. We're doing everything. So yeah, it's going to take some time, but hopefully with Skeet Reese getting a win this year with the MLF, and he gave it his shot out with the MG12. That was his number one reel picking up there. Us having people like Will Davis Jr. I was fishing with James Elam this week, and we're continuing to build this roster of just elite level pros, showing that, hey, if these guys are trusting KastKing and they've got 6 figures on the line, potentially $100,000 check, they're going to use reels that last. And we have that. Unfortunately, now we're getting it from both ends. People are saying KastKing should never charge how much for a reel. I would never pay that much. And then other people saying, well, now we're forgetting our roots. So that's what we're trying to show. Like, hey, if you got $40, we still have the Royal Legend 2 for you. And that has never gone up in price. There's still the Sharky 3. That's the People's Champ. And but at the same time, if you've got the extra money to get a magnesium frame, to get something higher end, then we've got that for you too. It doesn't matter what your budget, KastKing has a reel for you.
All right, so let's go down the lineup. So if someone's new to KastKing, they don't know what to buy, let's start off with maybe a couple of the lower tier $40 reels, like you say, the Royal Legend, and let's go up to maybe talk about some of the higher end ones like the iReel 2 or the Mega Jaws or something like that. Which ones would you recommend for people?
So if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I've got $40, $50, I'm going to automatically show them the Spartacus 2 lineup. That bait caster and that spinning reel is dang near unbeatable at that price at $50. The Spartacus 2 is a beast. It casts far. It's well built. It will stand up. And for a lot of guys that are realizing like, hey, I just picked it up as a backup reel, had a $45, $50 backup reel. And that thing is absolutely amazing. So I would definitely point someone in that direction. But for a lot of major anglers or that are bigger than just, I go fishing once in a while. Maybe they're a tournament angler. Maybe they're just hardcore about their gear. I always tell them, if you want to give KastKing a legit shot, you need to look at the Mega Jaws Elite. That's $129, has the AMB braking system. That's the Automag braking system. That is built like a tank. You can beat the crap out of those reels and they will continuously perform incredibly. So that is definitely, if someone says I want to give KastKing a shot, then it's right there. Now, of course, if you're going up into the top tier stuff, then yeah, absolutely the MG12 is where it's going to be at. That is, if you're throwing weightless plastics or if you're throwing smaller or jerk baits, small crankbaits, anything like that, that is our flagship of reel. Now, the iReel is a real touchy subject, especially with the way technology and everything. is, but someone was going to have to be the first. Now, a lot of people are saying we're not the first. We are. Yeah, we're not the first with digital braking, but as far as all the analytics that reel captures, we are the first to have all that. We're also the first ever with the iReel 2, where we broke down your digital casting down. We broke down casting into 4 different phases so that you can make those micro adjustments. Now, if you don't want to make those micro adjustments and you just want to pick up that reel and go ahead and go for it. The best comparison I could say it to is think about an iPhone. When the first iPhone came out, everybody clowned it, to include myself. I thought it was ridiculous. But once you got to like the iPhone 3, 4, then people's eyes started opening up. Now everyone has a smartphone. It may not necessarily be an iPhone, but vast majority of people have an iPhone on them or some sort of gigantic smartphone in their pockets. So that's kind of what we're trying to say with the iReel. Like, yeah, right now, 1, 2, especially with the 1, it was big, hit the market. The 2 has gotten smaller, more compact, more advanced. And so as we get into 3, the 4, it's going to end up really changing the fishing industry and how we look at reels.
Good deal. So, in your opinion, do you think that when it comes to the iReel on the market, do you think it's a fit right now? I mean, do you think a lot of people are going to actually commit to it and say, I want to actually use the iReel? Or do you think it's something that you have it now, KastKing has it now, but it's something that's going to really take off in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years?
It definitely is, especially at the rate that we're pushing it. Look at the Daiwa, the IMZ. So the limit breaker, that is depending on conversion rates between $900 to $1,100, and that started to make waves in 2019, and they're still on the first reel. We're already in development or the iReel 2 is already out, not out for the public. We're already working on our next iterations of that. So it's going to continue to keep getting pushed, and it's going to be something to the point where it's in there, it's in the reel. You may not necessarily use it all the time. The analytics, the marking your distance, your GPS, all that. You may not use all that. As far as having that technology in there, especially that advanced braking system, yeah, for sure. Those microprocessors are just going to get smarter, and we're not going to stop technology. It's going to be at a point where they're in almost every single reel.
So don't give away any trade secrets. I don't know what you know about the iReel 3, but where do you think it can go from here? Do you think it's going to improve greatly, or is it going to be like little minor changes that's going to make the reel better?
So it just depends on it's what we're trying to really do is create this ecosystem, right? Where it communicates with your phone, communicates with your Apple Watch or your smartwatch. You can hear the analytics going through this ecosystem we're trying to create. It's going to only get bigger. Even with the iReel 1 to the iReel 2, how we were able to make it smaller, lighter. It's going to be these major advancements that are going to just continue to go. Now with the 3, it's hard to really think about it because you look at the 1, you're like, how do you get better? And then we count the 2 and we're like, okay, this is way better. Now where's the 3 going to be at? So it just pretty much comes down to how are we going to be able to get all that technology and all of our advancements to bring it to the consumer, to have it a package deal to where we can show the consumer, hey, this is what we have and this is why you need it. I think a lot of it is the storytelling on why you would need this, especially with our advanced braking system. We have to do a better job at saying, hey, yeah, this reel should be charged if you want all those analytics. But if you don't want to charge it, you don't want those analytics, you don't need it. Just pick it up and go with that advanced braking system.
Good deal. All right, we're going to do more about KastKing, but I want to move on to another topic.
Okay.
I want you to give me a lure. And what I mean is I want you, what are you using right now? What do you find? I mean, I look at your social media and you have some of the funniest lures out there, which I think you know what I'm talking about. But yeah. What lures are you using right now? Give me a lure.
You know what the craziest thing that I've gone back to is just a Texas rigged craw. That's been my number one lure this year, this season, whatever you want to call it. Every year I pick something up, and that seems to be like my number one for the entire year, no matter where I'm fishing at across the country. And yeah, if you look at my social media, of course, I have a lot of crazy lures because obviously that's what's going to get the views, that's going to get the attention. But just a green pumpkin flat craw style bodied craw has just been a big producer for me this year. I don't know why. I guess maybe because of throwing all the crazy stuff and then just kind of going back to those basics. But yeah, just a regular green pumpkin craw or black and blue has just been the number one producer for me this year.
That's what's up. No, mine's actually been kind of similar to yours. I've been fishing a fluke, a
Oh
weightless
yeah, that's
fluke,
always a
or
big one too.
and I've been like these. What are they? These right here, rabbit baits. They have a little bit of rabbit fur on the end of them.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen some of those baits.
Amazing.
Really?
Rig those things weightless. I've been killing them on it. And it's like I've been going back to the basic stuff. And I have all these lures. If you look at my room right now, full of lures and stuff like that, and different types, all these different crazy contraptions they have. But I've been going right back to the basic stuff like a fluke. That's been killing it for me this year.
I want to say the fluke has probably been number 2 for me this year. A lot of people don't know how to fish a fluke. They don't have the patience, because it's weightless and you got to wait for that thing to sink all the way to the bottom. I'd almost say like the way I fish a fluke is almost like live bait, where you just cast it out there and just let it flutter down to the bottom and just let it sit there.
Right.
So it's a different style of fishing, really slow for a lot of people, but depending on the geographical location, I mean, it's a producer for sure.
I have another one that you want to check out. It's actually veteran owned, and I know you do a lot of veteran owned things, but this one, where's that? Right here, One Cast Fishing. I don't know if you can see that good. There we go.
Oh yeah, those guys are great. Those guys are outstanding. They make those weedless jigs.
Yes. I've been loving it because right now our lakes are getting lower. The water level is getting lower, and the grass is matting up and stuff.
Oh
and
gosh.
They have the bladed jig and they have the swim jig, and I just swimming through there, and it's been killing fish for me lately. So that's another one I want everybody to check that one out because they make a good product.
They do. They make outstanding stuff, and yeah, they're veteran owned and operated, and their weedless swim jig. I mean, ripping that through grass. I mean, that's a producer right there for sure.
Definitely. Now that's one thing Kasking hasn't gotten into is the lure game. Do you think they're going to actually go into fishing lures and expand their lineup anymore?
So we do have a department of that. It's Mad Bite. So if you see us talk about Mad Bite stuff, it's mainly jig heads, a few lures here, this and that. But will it expand? Sure. I see it expanding, where we should be coming out with more stuff, especially towards the end of this year and the beginning of 2025. But hopefully we do. It's just right now we're going through a lot of growing pains where we're getting up there, and things are only going to go up. We're bringing a lot more back to the United States, and we're doing a lot of different things. So I definitely think the Mad Bite lineup is going to expand here in the near future.
Good deal. All right, it's that time now. So you got to give me a fishing tip.
Fishing tip.
What you got for me?
This is a tough one for me because I am in the industry, but lures, gear is made not for the fish, it's made for the fisherman.
Right.
So I think a lot of times it's easy for people to get caught up in the hype, especially for new anglers. They're like, oh, there's so much stuff out there, or someone that maybe wants to take their fishing to the next level. Maybe they want to get into the social media game. Maybe they want to get into the tournaments. It's easy to get caught up in all the fancy marketing stuff. And that's what our job is to do. But a lot of times, if you stick with the basics, you'll be successful. I mean, even with forward-facing sonar, all this stuff. I mean, guys are just killing it with a wacky rig Cinco, a drop shot, a jig, and a Texas rig. All these fancy lures and stuff like that, these fancy gear, you see all of that coming out. Yeah, it works. Yeah, they catch a fish. But if you look at these top producers, they keep it 1,000% simple. So the biggest fishing tip I tell anyone is stick to the basics. Because I know we're all guilty of it. Like you said, I know you got a room full of lures. I've got my garage looks horrible right now, but it's just been too hot for me to sit there and reorganize everything. And I just go back to the same stuff that just produces year in, year out. Right. No matter where I'm fishing, there's certain things that just produce. But so don't buy into the hype. And we all have our own. If you ask 5 anglers what their favorite lure is, you might get 5 different answers. So figure out what works for you, what you have confidence in. Fishing is 90% mental. And when I say that, it's your mental decision making. Am I going to throw this color? Am I going to change to this? Am I going to change spots? Maybe I should be throwing it on this setup. Maybe I should be doing this. It's all decision making. Your gear, it makes such a small percentage of your success in fishing.
Yeah, you're right. So ask me this, does lure color matter? Because I throw black and blue, green pumpkin, maybe a white here and there. I don't divvy out into the pinks and not too much chartreuse, but in your opinion, does lure color matter?
It does matter depending on where you're fishing, what you're trying to accomplish, the time of the year, your water temperature, water conditions. Yeah, but just like you said, black and blue produces everywhere. It's the same thing with, like I said, green pumpkin. Now, of course, if water's so here in Oklahoma, the water is really stained. It's really nasty. You go to some places, it's like fishing in gravy, chocolate milk. So, of course, the colors I'm going to throw are going to be very different if I go to a lake that's clear water, or if I go to a different area. So, color does matter, but for some reason, your green pumpkin, your black and blue, and then when it comes to the fluke, that white, that pearl white just gets bit. Sometimes the pearl white with the chartreuse tail. Chartreuse, of course, doesn't work certain times of the year, but that's about to kick back on, especially with the fall right around the corner. And the reds work really well, spawn your springtime, but the reds also work well when they start getting fat in the fall. So it does matter to an extent, but it basically comes down to water conditions and water temperature.
That's what's up. So, non-fishing question: you live in Oklahoma. Are you a Sooners fan?
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
You are. You guys gonna have your time cut out for you in the SEC now.
Oh, yeah, I know that's a big thing. And it was funny. I was not always an OU fan. I wasn't even too much of a college football fan, just growing up in California, but moving out here, going to an OU game, being around the energy, it's amazing. And it's college football is so much fun. Yeah, it's a different vibe from going through an NFL game for sure. But just the energy, the way the community gets behind it, it's awesome. And yeah, we definitely have our work cut out for us in the SEC, but that's what they wanted. And so,
That's what they wanted.
It's time to go out there and, see if they can do it.
Good deal. Well, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I appreciate you coming on. You gave us some very good information. And I want to have you back on because I want to talk more about KastKing's. I want to really go a deep dive into their products, their rods and their reels, and just show people what Kasking is all about so they can, trust it a little bit more. So hopefully you can come back on. But before you go, it's time to plug yourself. Where can people find out more about you? Where can you learn about Jose?
All right. So the spot that I'm the biggest at is on Instagram, is N Boujee. A lot of my stuff I do is more funnier. It's more hilarious. Now, if you look at what I do on TikTok, it's very different. It's very product focused, sales driven. That's where TikTok is. So if anyone's trying to get in money wise, the money's right there in TikTok. But if you're trying to blow up, reach out to a lot of companies. They want to see that professional polished stuff on Instagram. So yeah, definitely check me out on Instagram. TikTok also, I'm doing as much as I can on TikTok right now, trying to grow that. But N Boujee on social media platforms is where I'm at.
N Boujee sound good. Well, don't be a stranger. Come back on to the Catch Rich Talk Show whenever you want to. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Hey, appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.